All right, gang, we are live. Come on in, one and all. Great to have you. I hope you're all doing well. We've got some breaking news that I thought we could go over together. Just make sure as you're coming on in the comments, hey guys, let me know that you can hear okay and the sound is fine. We've got a lawsuit that is seeking to force Vice President Mike Pence to hand the election to President Trump. This is really fascinating stuff. So I want to get on here live with you to chat about this. So come on in. Great. All right. Thanks. Thanks, Mitchell. Very appreciated. And Gordo, thank you. Sounds good. Yeah, come on in, guys. We've got some amazing developments that are going to get us ready for Wednesday, the 6th of January, which, of course, is the day that the Electoral College is officially certified in Washington, D.C., and we have more and more pundits that are coming out and agreeing that Vice President Mike Pence has massive authority to hand this election to President Trump single-handedly in many respects on that Wednesday, the 6th of January. So I want to go over that with you to help you understand that better. And I want to, what precipitated this for me is the lawsuit that was filed by Representative Louis Gohmert of Texas, which is basically requiring Pence to use his constitutional powers to hand President Trump the victory on Wednesday, January 6th. So we're going to take a look at what that's all about. Hopefully you're not going to have any more questions of what to expect on the 6th after this live stream. Now, before we get into things, I do want to invite all of you to my exclusive live online Q&A that I'm holding tomorrow night, December 30th at 8 p.m. Eastern time, to which you are all invited. We hold these live Q&As every single week, and they're exclusive for our Insiders Club members. Now, if you're not part of my Insiders Club, all you need to do is just simply click on the link down below, and you can sign up. And as a special incentive, you're going to get your first 2 weeks of membership absolutely free. All right. You get it absolutely free, a 2-week trial. So you can be a part of the Q&A tomorrow night at 8 p.m. You can ask me your questions. Now, we do this every week. So our live Q&A is a great way to get acquainted with our censorship-free Insiders Club. Now, this 2-week free trial is itself going to expire as of December 31st, midnight, right? So at midnight, December 31st, as the bell strikes for 2021, this 2-week free trial is itself gone as well. So if you want to take advantage of it, now is the time. Do not wait, because it's not going to be around much longer. So make sure to click on the link below, become an Insiders member with your first 2 weeks absolutely free. It's a limited time offer, expires midnight, December 31st. So make sure to click on the link right now, and I will see you tomorrow night, Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, for our live Q&A. All right, so we've got some, thank you, Golden Eagle, very appreciated. So we've got some definite movement going on here with regard to next Wednesday, the 6th of January, the day when the electors come together and meet in Washington, D.C. to have their votes certified by the President of the Senate, which is Vice President Mike Pence. Now, this is from the Epic Times. This is the breaking news here. I'll read it for you. Representative Louis Gohmert of Texas has filed a lawsuit against Vice President Mike Pence in a bid to overturn the presidential election results, asking a court to give Pence, quote, exclusive authority, close quote, and to decide which electoral college votes should be counted. Now, according to the lawsuit, Pence has a role in the upcoming January 6, 2021 joint session of Congress to count all 50 states' electoral college votes. Gohmert's lawsuit, which was filed against Pence in his capacity as vice president, is asking a federal judge to strike down the 1887 Electoral Count Act and to grant Pence the authority to overturn the election results in favor of President Donald Trump. Thank you all for those super chats. Forgive me when I'm chatting and I don't give you the shout out you so deserve. It's very appreciated. All right. So what I want to do, and I caught that one great. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Very appreciated. Now, what I want to do is I want to go over with you what's going on here, because I think it's pretty fascinating stuff for what to expect on January 6th of next week. So let's start with this 1887 Act and what Gohmert is talking about here. In 1887, Congress passed a law that said, in effect, here's how we're going to count electors in the future. And the process laid out in this, and by the way, I'm very appreciative to Robert Barnes, the legal scholar who's explained this act in detail. But most of you are going to be familiar with this act. It stipulates that the vice president who presides over the proceedings on January 6th, and in both chambers, he's the president of the Senate who presides over the entirety of the proceedings, including the House of Representatives. He begins the whole session, as it were, by reading out the names of the electors. And here it's been generally assumed that Pence is going to simply read out the electors that were certified by the governors. So this would involve the Biden electors in all 6 contested states. So you've got Arizona, you've got Nevada, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Georgia. I think I got them all there. So at that point, then once he names the electors, at that point, one member of the House and one member of the Senate, that's at least, right? They must both object to any certification of any particular state's electors. And so first is an objection from a House and a Senate member. As I understand, they do not have to be the same state. I've heard some people talk that way. That is, according to Barnes, that is not true. They don't have to be the same state. They don't have to be from the state where the electors are being challenged. All you need is one House member and one Senate member. And they're supposed to have both House and they're supposed to declare a formal objection. And as a result of that, then both the House and the Senate will convene separately and debate the issue of the contested electors for 2 hours per contested objection. So this is interesting because you can theoretically object to the electors in all 50 states and in effect have the House and Senate debate for 100 hours. Okay. So this could be dragged out over the course of, few days if they wanted to do that. And then they come back together as a unit, both the House and the Senate. And if both sustain the objection, then those objectors are tossed out, they're thrown out, okay? If they don't vote to overturn it, then the electors remain. Now, what's interesting here is that there is a dispute over what happens if the chamber split. So if the Senate votes one way and the House votes another way. That, as I understand it, is uncharted territory in the statute that issued the law is extremely vague on that. And this vagueness is where this lawsuit by Louis Gohmert of Texas, that's where it comes in. Because what he basically is saying is that the statute, in this case being extremely vague, there's a lot of questions over procedure and the like. And so what's so interesting here is that when all is said and done, it is Vice President Pence, who presides over the proceedings, who ultimately makes the decision of what to do and what not to do. And that's what the lawsuit wants to make explicit here, that Vice President Pence does indeed have full authority over these proceedings, and he can make the final decision as what to do with these electors. Now, the lawsuit alleges that any certification of Biden's electors would itself be an illegal certificate, or, well, better, he would be certifying illegal electors because of the contestation of these 6 states, the propensity of fraud, and the like. Regardless, the lawsuit is the latest push for Pence to invoke what we're all calling now the Pence card. And the Pence card, in a nutshell, okay, and there is a constitutional way to bypass all debate, all objections, and the like, because already we know this is going to be the single most contested election since 1876. Okay, there are going to be more representatives in the House of Representatives objecting to the electors than we've seen over the last century. All right. And it looks like we're going to have senators as well. Josh Hawley, most likely. Tommy Tuberville of Alabama said he's going to object. So what Pence can do is he's the only one that's given the authority to count the electors at the very beginning of the proceedings. All right. He presents the electors formally to Congress. Now, going back, and this is again from very appreciative of Robert Barnes on this, going back to 1876, right? The 12th Amendment was passed in 1803, and then its thus far principal interpretation, which goes back to 1876, is the last time we had a major contested presidential election. The vice president could, as presider over the proceedings, he could decide which electors to choose if the electors are contested. And so Pence here has a couple of choices. He could read out the electors, and as he reads them out, he could, in fact, by his own authority, read the Republican electors from those contested states that submitted dual electors. That's why they submitted them. They submitted the votes. One of the reasons is so that Mike Pence can read their names as over and against the governor's certified electors. He could read out the electors, the Republican electors, and all of a sudden that's when all hell can break loose because, well, we'll get into what can happen there. Or here's another thing he can do. He could read out the electors and simply omit the electors that were certified by the governors in those contested states so that neither candidate has 270 electoral votes. So there's a couple of options there. He could, as he's reading out the electors, he could read the Republican electors who are part of the dueling electors, or he could simply omit to read the electors from the contested states, in which case you have no candidate with 270 electoral votes. Now, if he does that, as I understand it, then he, as the head of proceedings, in effect says that he does not recognize the electors that were chosen by the governors, that were certified, I should say, by the governors. He does not recognize them due to their ongoing contestation. If he goes the other way, if he reads the names of the Republican electors, then he in effect is saying, in his estimation, there was enough fraud to turn this election over to President Trump, and he, as the presider over the proceedings, is awarding Trump those electors. Either way, it is the vice president who has the ultimate authority over the electors. Now, the question is, well, there's twofold. The first question is whether Pence is going to do this. The New York Times has come out and warned him and said, if you want a future in politics, you better not. You better not monkey around with anything here. I would argue, and I think the vast majority of honest pundits would argue, it's the exact opposite. If Pence refuses to do anything here, his future in the Republican Party is over. If he refuses to play the Pence card, if he goes the way of Mitch McConnell, if he sides on the side of the deep state over the deplorables, his future in the Republican Party is dead. It is over. He is done in politics. So there is enormous pressure for Pence to reject in some way, shape, or form these governor-certified pro-Biden electors in the contested states. Now, of course, we talked about this before, but what happens if he does this? It seems that in the end, then this ultimately has to get kicked into the House of Representatives as a contested election. We've talked about this ad nauseum, but just in case you don't know, if it does, if the House of Representatives is going to be deciding this, ironically, it's state legislators that send delegates to make the ultimate decision here. So Congress is no longer involved. It goes right back to the states. The state legislatures and their makeup, they send delegates that reflect, obviously, the party that is dominant in their state legislators. And every single slate of delegates from each state gets one vote, ultimately one vote. So you can only have 50 votes, as I understand it. And then as of January 1st or 3rd, whenever they get sworn in, as of then, we will have 30 Republican states and we will have 20 Democrat states, and Trump wins re-election easily, right? What we're finding is that more and more Republicans in Washington, D.C. are rising up and basically saying, let's do this. Let's get this kicked into the House as an officially contested election, and let's let the delegates decide. And if that's the case, Trump wins. Trump wins re-election. This is really happening. So all of this is to say that there is enormous pressure on Pence to deliver in some way, shape, or form. He needs to make sure that the Biden electors from the contested states are not certified. And if that's the case, either the Republican electors get certified and in effect, Trump is declared the winner by the vice president. I don't think the courts are going to get involved. I don't think they are going to contest that decision. Or this ends up getting kicked into the House of Representatives as a contested election where every single state sends a team of delegates, each of whom get one vote, 30 Republican states to 20 Democrat states, and Trump wins. So obviously, we're going to be keeping our eyes fixed on how things develop here for sure. Things are really, really beginning to heat up as we approach the 6th of January. All right, now we can pick all this up tomorrow night, which I do want to do. I want to pick this up tomorrow night on our live Q&A. You are all invited. We start at 8 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow night, December 30th. We can get into this in even more detail. Again, this is just for Insiders Club members. So if you're not part of my Insiders Club, all you got to do is just click on that link down below in the pinned comments section. Join my exclusive club right now, and you're going to get your very first 2 weeks absolutely free, no obligation. We want you to be a part of the Q&A. You're going to love them. They're really awesome. The questions are amazing. You're going to love this wonderful fellowship with conservatives all over the world that we have. There's nothing like it. So make sure to click on that link below, become an Insiders member with your first 2 weeks absolutely free. And I will see you tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern for a live Q&A. Things are heating up, gang. It's getting really, really exciting. All right. God bless.